Hey Giants fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. It is Chiefs week. The Giants take on Kansas City Sunday night. It is their home opener that I'm going to be at, and I'm really begging them to win for a multitude of reasons, which we will get into later. But first we have to talk about Andrew Thomas because we have an update. So on Wednesday, they had their first practice of the week, and Brian Daboll said that Andrew Thomas was going to be getting more reps on his plate than he has so far, which is great. They're starting to ramp him up, which is obviously very important. The question that I have is this. It was not a padded practice, so how important is it that they ramped up his reps when they weren't in pads? I mean, it's great, right? They got to keep going and increase his reps so he's ready to play at some point. But I don't know. Daboll also said that he's encouraged by Andrew Thomas's rehab and the way that things are going, and he's feeling optimistic about him playing on Sunday. This is how I feel, is that I will not actually believe that Andrew Thomas is playing on Sunday until Sunday afternoon when we get the Andrew Thomas active alert on the injury final updates. That's when I will believe it. Until then, I'm going under the assumption that Andrew Thomas is working his way back, that he is very close to coming back, and hopefully if it's not this Sunday, it's going to be next Sunday. But I just am not optimistic about it, and maybe I'm just being a downer. This team really, really has depressed me over the last 8 years. So, it's been a rough go for us Giants fans. But I can't believe them when they say things like they feel optimistic that he's going to be out there, because you also felt optimistic in August that he was going to be ready for week 1. And it's week 3 and there's no definitive answer as to whether or not Andrew Thomas is playing. And at this rate, they're probably not even having a padded practice this week, which means that is he even going to be able to play on Sunday if he wasn't in the team drills on the one and only padded practice per week? We'll get more updates later this afternoon. It's Thursday, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow and, hopefully have a more definitive set of answer, like if they did a padded practice, if Andrew Thomas was involved and how much he was involved and did he feel okay from day 1 to day 2. This is the big thing with them, right? Is that they start to ramp up his reps. How does his body handle it? How does he feel the next day? Is he able to take on more? So hopefully we'll have a better answer for that tomorrow and then, of course, on Sunday. But I would just say don't hold your breath because, I'm not feeling that great about it. Anyway, well, we're on the subject of injuries. Let's talk through the injury report that came out on Wednesday. So it's a bit lengthy this week. We're back in the swing of things where it's not just one person on the injury list. So they had 3 players that did not practice. Linebacker Demetrius Flanagan-Foles is dealing with a calf injury. This is the second week now that he has not practiced. He did not play on Sunday. Typically what happens is if the players do not practice on Wednesday, there is a slim chance that they will play on Sunday. So I would say it's pretty likely that we're not going to see these 3 players on Sunday. The second one is defensive lineman Chauncey Golston, who's dealing with an ankle injury. So again, I would love to see him on Sunday. We need some help on the defense in any way, shape, and form that we can get it. And the same thing goes with Flanagan-Foles, but I just feel like where they're at right now, it's not looking so great. And the last player that did not practice is Darius Muasau, who's dealing with a concussion. They also have concussion/eye, which is new. We did not hear about an eye injury with him. So with that being said, again, not feeling good about him. Now, he could be cleared on Friday from the concussion, and then there is a chance that he plays. I believe that happened with Darius Slayton last year, where he didn't practice a couple days throughout the week because of the concussion, but then he was cleared and ready to go and did play on Sunday. So I would say because of the concussion versus a body part injury, there is a possibility that he plays on Sunday. Out of the 3 players, I'm probably the most optimistic about him, but the Giants take concussions very seriously, and they will not rush him onto the field if he is not 100% ready to go. And the fact that it seems like there's some sort of eye situation there, I don't know. They had 2 players who were full practices, which was Roy Robertson-Harris, who's dealing with some sort of knee injury, and running back Cam Scadaboo, who's dealing with an ankle. So no reason to worry about those 2. They're good to go. All right, the rest of the Giants players. We had Nacho, who's dealing with a foot, Gunner, who's dealing with a back, Wandale foot, Runyon back, JMS toe, Darius Slayton groin/calf. That's new. Last week it was just the groin. Andrew Thomas foot, and then and that's it. So all the guys that were limited at practice. Now, I don't think we have to worry about any of those guys. Usually when they're limited on Wednesday, unless something disastrous happens, they're good to go on Sunday. So I wouldn't really worry about them. I think the best news out of this list is that Nacho practiced because he did not play on Sunday. And I think that we definitely felt his absence there, especially with all the linebacker issues that we had. I think having Nacho back will help out this team. So I would definitely like to see Nacho back on Sunday. To have the depth there is helpful. Let's quickly go through the Chiefs players because I think there are, one or two guys here that we probably have to worry about. So players who did not practice: defensive end Mike Dana, and then cornerback Christian Fulton. Players who were limited: Jalen Royal, Xavier Worthy, Josh Simmons. Simmons is dealing with an illness, so he's probably going to be fine to go on Sunday. The one thing I want to note here is that Xavier Worthy was limited in practice. He's been out since Travis Kelce injured him. His own teammate injured him on the field. So he's been out. And now, of course, he's limited. So there is a very good chance that the Giants are going to see him on Sunday, which, we couldn't get a miraculous gift of not having Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. We had to get stuck with one of them. So, that's classic Giants luck. Anyway, these rest of these players: Hollywood Brown, Ashton, Gillot, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't really care. Patrick Mahomes, Charles Omenihu, Juwan Taylor, and Drew Tranquil were all full practices. Mahomes was dealing with a right wrist injury, which is, of course, his throwing wrist. So, let's hope the Giants can take advantage of that. Let's go ahead and move along to some new signings and kick return, punt return update. The reason that I want to talk about the kick return and the punt return update is because on Thursdays, the coordinators speak to the media, and the special teams coordinator, Mike Gobriel, just spoke to the media and said that we might see Tyrone Tracy back as a returner again. And this is where it leads into the personnel update and the signing situation, because I have such a problem with how this team goes about their personnel issues, and they probably don't care, but I care and they should care. Why are you putting Tyrone Tracy, who is one of your starting running backs, back as a returner when you have Gunner, when you have Devin Singletary, who's not the starter, when you can be using Jalen Hyatt, who's not playing a single snap in this game, but who's active and dressed? Do I want him as a returner? No, but if you're not going to use him there, use Beau Collins, who's also active. Use someone who is not one of your starting players that you rely on. Wan'Dale Robinson dealt with an ankle injury last week because he got injured on the return. Do we need to go back to Adoree Jackson and what happened with him using our starting cornerback there? They obviously have not learned their lesson. It's the same reason why I saw Javon Holland back there during training camp and made a huge fucking stink about it. Because he should not be out there at all. It's ridiculous. You have a ton of players that you can use as a kick returner or a punt returner. Instead of elevating them from the practice squad or using someone who's already active, no, let's use one of our starters. Let's maybe get him injured. I understand that they want the advantage there. I do. But you have players that give you that advantage. You have Gunnar Olszewski, who's healthy, who's been with this team for multiple years, who knows the playbook, who's done a great job. The same thing could be said for Turbo, Dante Miller, who ran I think it was a 4.27 40. The guy is fast as hell. He's good on returns. He's been used as a special teamer before. He's on the practice squad. You can't elevate him? How about Amir Smith-Marset, who's also in his second year with the team, who's explosive, who's been great, who ran two returns back for touchdowns last year. But no, let's not use him. Let's use Tyrone Tracy, one of our starting running backs, and Wan'Dale Robinson, our starting wide receiver. It is so infuriating to me, clearly, that it just seems like they don't learn from any of their mistakes. And again, I understand the argument that they're making is that we want to use someone who gives us an advantage there. But you have other guys who give you the advantage. We are not talking about some rookie who's never been a returner before and doesn't know the new kickoff rules and, has dealt with fumbling issues. We have 3 different players at the minimum that they could be using, and instead they're going to use a starting wide receiver or a starting running back. It's out of control. It's the most asinine thing I've ever seen. And the fact that this has been going on for years under this regime and they don't learn their lesson after their starting cornerback, Adoree Jackson, 3 years ago, got injured 3 years ago, and we're still doing the same stuff. Make it make sense. It is infuriating to me, and it drives me absolutely nuts. So instead, this is what they did. These are the roster moves that they made. They moved Chris Board to the reserve injured list. They added 3 practice squad guys. Dalen Cambry, who's a wide receiver who has experience on special teams. Okay, you're going to elevate him. Are you going to use him as a returner? And then they added 2 linebackers, Neville Hewitt and Curtis Jacobs. I want to point out Neville Hewitt here because he's a veteran linebacker. He's been in the league for quite a while. I believe he's played almost 200 games and has almost 500 tackles. So he's got a lot of experience in the NFL and is likely to end up being a starting linebacker at some point during this game if Darius Muasau is not back. Like, we're looking at him and Swayze Bowman, who they elevated from the practice squad. They went ahead and signed him because it was his second elevation. And Bobby Okereke. Like, those are our linebackers this week. And then they cut 2 guys from the practice squad. Tight end Kadir Ismail and DB Patrick McMorris. So both guys who have not been elevated or not been ready to play anyway. So the Giants are frustrating. But the thing is, they're playing the Chiefs at a really good time, okay? Aside from the fact that they're going to get Xavier Worthy back, it is what it is, right? The Chiefs are not the powerhouse Chiefs that we have seen over the last couple of years. They are a little weak right now. And I think that the Giants have to do everything in their power to exploit that and take advantage of it. Now, I'm a little optimistic that the defense is going to make some significant changes this week. And I think that if they do that, they should be able to slow down the run and be able to stop the Chiefs here. Now, the Chiefs only put up, 17 points last week against the Eagles. So they are not playing their best football. Travis Kelce looks like a shell of himself. He's dropping balls left and right, running into his own players and getting them injured, crying like a baby on the sidelines and being the dramatic queen that he is. So I need the Giants for 1 week, just 1 week, please. Cover the tight end and do a damn good job of it. Do not let Travis Kelce have his comeback game on Sunday Night Lights when fucking Taylor Swift is going to be in the booth, okay? This is not the time to do it, Giants. If there's any time for you to get your shit together and play good football, especially in covering the tight end, this is the week to do it. Do not leave him uncovered. Do not let him have his bounce back game against us, okay? This is not a get right game for the Chiefs. It's not going to be if you don't allow it. Now, Carl Banks said after the game that he was very disappointed. He went off on the players. He said there were absolutely some miscommunications there. Yes, the coaching scheme is a part of it, but the players have to execute and they have to know what they're doing. And he specifically called out Javon Holland and said that he needs to be helping out this young rookie linebacker who literally came in out of nowhere and had to be the starter in the middle of the game, that they need to help each other. And Banks said, he tweeted out yesterday, that he feels optimistic that some big changes are coming to the defense after being in the meetings and stuff this week. I believe he was in the meetings. If not, he's always in the building. So I would like him to be our defensive coordinator. I think he would be incredible. It's a note for another day. But this defense needs to turn it around this week. They cannot let the Chiefs run all over them. Again, you got to do something about Travis Kelce, and you have to slow down the run. They have to be able to do it. If they get Nacho back, that's absolutely going to help. If this guy Neville Hewitt can come in and make some tackles when they're needed, like on third down and things like that, that's going to help. But they have to also, please, for the love of God, Shane Bowen, when it's second and long, get out of the soft zone. And, Banks basically talked about in his tweet that he said that a lot of players and the coaching staff, that he just feels like there is a different type of energy there. I hope that there is a sense of urgency that they're 0-2 and it's time to get their shit together, or else the season's over if they go 0-3 against the Chiefs. Like, it just is. So they have to get it together this week. And look, Banks is rarely super harsh on players and the coaching staff, and I get why, right? He was very harsh on that. The harshest that I've seen. He was dropping F-bombs talking about the players, that they were not executing in scenarios that they should have been executing in. So I think for him to say, I've been in the building and I see things that are different, for him to go out of his way to say that is going to give me some optimism. Now, do I think that the defense is going to go out there and blitz 60% of the time and sack the shit out of Patrick Mahomes and, only give up less than 100 yards rushing? No. But prove me wrong, Giants. Do it, please. I would love nothing more. But I think if there's a sense of urgency and there is a sense of, okay, what we're doing is not working, we have to make some changes, then I want to believe that they're going to be able to do that. And if there's one reason that leads me to believe that they're actually going to do it, it's because the offense flipped a switch from week 1 to week 2. And you guys can say all you want about the fact that Dallas doesn't have a good defense with Micah Parsons gone and this, that, and the other thing. Okay, fine. The Commanders also don't have a good defense. So what was the excuse week 1? I don't want to hear it. They don't have excuses. They put up 37 points against the Cowboys. They have not done that in How long? Years, years. It doesn't matter. They even played the Colts and they barely put up that many points. And we all know how bad the Colts have been over the last couple years. So, they can't even do it against really bad football teams. So they did it against the Cowboys. I think ultimately, we talk about this a lot. Confidence is very important for a lot of these players. You saw it with Theo Johnson. When he caught that first target during the game on Sunday, I could just feel the weight come off him, and he felt like, all right, I redeemed myself from last week when I dropped that first ball and then I couldn't get out of my head. Like, this is what happens with players. They are people too, and when they make a mistake, I think it's a little hard for some of them to not spiral. So, something that needs to be worked on. I hope that, the coaching staff is helping them. But like Malik Neighbors is not built like that. And there are certain players like Brian Burns, like players that are not built like that. And I think there are some, especially on the younger end, that are. And I think that makes a big difference. When you can prove to yourself, okay, I caught the ball, I can help this team, let's go, that helps. So anyway, I think that the Chiefs are absolutely beatable, but the Giants have to make some changes. And if Carl Banks is right and this defense is at the forefront of making changes and the offense can clean up their penalties and fix a couple things there's no reason why we shouldn't go into that godforsaken MetLife Stadium and beat the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we're going to talk about players to watch and more injury updates.